Okay, so here are my flashcards. All right. Ah! What was that? Was that a bee? Is this your reaction when you first see a bee? Well, today I hope to tell you a little bit about bees and beekeeping and hopefully change your mind about that. So, my answer is more often like, hey, where are you at in your sweet little journey to find your treasure? Everything about bees have fascinated me. Honeybees are responsible for the pollination of all fruits and vegetables. And we all should know a little bit more about our friendly little helper. Honeybees can fly up to 3 miles to help pollinate and propagate plants. Honeybees, another interesting fact to me is that honeybees are used in the United States and in California solely for the almond population or pollination, and without honeybees we just simply wouldn't have almonds. And the history of beekeeping goes back to as early as 30 BC, so we all have this long-standing history with bees, and we all enjoy the fruits of their labor, so we should dive in and find out a little bit more about our guys. I have been a hobbyist beekeeper for the past 10 years. My interest started in beekeeping from just a simple article that I read and has turned into what I hope is a lifelong hobby. Since I began, I've wintered over hives, captured live swarms, and enjoyed harvesting their honey. So today I hope to share with you just not a little bit about my experiences, but also let you know a little bit about the history of bees, the types of houses that they live in, and how a hive itself functions. So first, let's start by exploring the history of beekeeping. Bees have been documented on almost every century of mankind, and honeycomb has even been found in the Great Pyramids of Egypt. It is from an article written by Jennifer B., The Global History of Beekeeping on March 18th of 2020, that the oldest known bee dates back to 100 million years ago. And it was discovered in the Wangkong Valley of Myanmar, Burma, by zoologist and Professor George Poinar from Oregon State University. So as you can see, we all have this long-standing history with bees. It was found here this slide here shows you a little bit about how old this is. These are found in caves from both Spain and Egypt. This first slide here is from an Egyptian pyramid that the beekeeper is trying to use smoke, which helps subdue the hive itself and make harvesting honey a little easier. And the second one is one from Spain where someone has climbed straight up a tree to grab honey out of a hive and probably got stung there. So as you can see, there has been almost every culture where bees have been involved in, and mankind has been wanting to have some of the fruits of their labors. It is also told in that article that I mentioned before, between the 11th and 18th century, that bees and beehives were used in warfare. It was Emperor Henry I and King Richard who had this clever idea to use live beehives and catapult them into the enemy's battlefield, chasing their enemies away and stinging them. So now that we've heard a little bit about the history of beekeeping, I'd like to move on and tell you a little bit about the hives or the houses that they live in. So it's quoted from the Farmer's Almanac, Beekeeping 101, choosing a type of beehive by the editors on April 17th of 2020. Before your bees arrive, you must consider where they are going to live. There are 3 basic types of beehives, so let's figure out which one's right for you. So on this slide you will see there's a top bar hive, which is the oldest hive for bee management that is known. It is just like the name implies. There is a simple structure with a roof, and there is a horizontal board, just a single board that the honeycomb is built on. This is super efficient and lightweight for the beekeeper. The bees can kind of do a freelance form of honeycomb building. The Warren hive is the one in the middle, and that one was developed in the mid-20th century by a woman named Emily Warren. She kind of took the same approach as the top bar hive and used the free-form freelance style, so the bees wouldn't need a foundation of any type, but ran the board vertically. This gave a longer portion for the bee to lay its eggs on and to function within the hive. And she also moved the honey super to below. This better mimics what we've found in the wild, and this form of beekeeping is quite interesting and intriguing to me, and I'd like to pursue that in the following seasons. The next hive that we are going to talk about is the Langstroth hive. This hive itself is the most common in commercial and bee hobbyists here in the United States. It is convenient for management of bee colonies. There are quite a few intricate pieces to this hive in itself, as you can see, opposed to the latter two. It has many different places, such as an excluder to make sure the queen doesn't get into the honey super. The honey super is moved to the top here and is convenient for harvesting honey. So now that we've heard a little bit about the housing of bees, we're going to move on to actually the function within the hive. And today I'd like to tell you a little bit about these three types of bees. There are three forms of bees that can develop into, so let's take a look at how they all begin. According to the science of bees, when we look at a single honeybee, we see a small, seemingly simple creature, but behind this modest frame is an incredible story. From the very start of its life, this bee has a fascinating journey. I chose that quote because it really means a lot to me and kind of symbolizes how I feel about bees. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about, and we're going to start with the worker bee here in the center. The worker bee has a lifespan of 4 to 5 months, and as her name implies, she does all the work within the hive. She is born with a very specific role, and it goes straight from when she is born. She starts cleaning the hive right away. She cleans up and tidies things so the queen can come in and lay new eggs. When she moves on from cleaning, she goes into nursery care, and it is there that she cares for that new egg and into the larva stage. Once the larva has reached a certain age, she starts to bring in all the nectar and pollen that it will need, and she'll cap that little cell, and that little bee will grow into a healthy new bee. She moves on from nursery care and capping and larva duty to guard door duty. I've ran into quite a few of these girls. They take their job quite seriously. They guard all the entrances to the hive and make sure all foreigners stay out. From guard duty, she moves on to foraging, and foraging is where we're going to run into them, so be kind to them. This is kind of a big step for the worker bee. She gets to go out and forage and find fresh pollen. And then we'll go ahead and move on to the drone, and it's the drone who is the only male in the hive, and they have quite an easy job. It's just to mate with the queen. Their job's easy but very significant because it helps increase the gene pool. We're going to talk now about the queen. It's the queen who has the biggest role in the hive. Her job is to just continuously lay eggs. Throughout her life, she will lay eggs every day and every moment of it. She is quite important to the longevity of a colony, and so she's defended with her life. All the other bees will die for her. It's almost as you can hear them, God save the queen. So today we've learned a little bit about the history of beekeeping, the types of hives that they live in, and what happens within a bee's lifespan. I hope it's, just in summary that you understand all of these little details that I've created a certain kind of curiosity for you. And the next time that you see a bee, that maybe it won't alarm you, and instead you will look at them with a little bit of wonder and curiosity, and maybe where they are in their fascinating journey. Thank you. Okay.